Hi, my name is Dean Sickler with Golden Paintworks. Today I'd like to talk about glazing on walls. One of the easiest and most cost-effective ways to change the decor of a room is with color on the walls. This will freshen up a room and make it look new, but paint is still just an opaque plastic coating that has no visual interest besides color. A transparent glaze over paint will not only give visual interest to the surface, but will also give the walls presence in a way that mere paint cannot. Wallpaper can do the same, but it is expensive, has a noticeable repeat pattern in seams, is susceptible to mildew and mold, and has to be removed later on, which can be also an expensive proposition. Acrylic wall glazes are only a visual texture which is easy to reverse by just painting it out with regular paint. In this video, I'd like to show you how to accomplish 3 wall glazing techniques so you can see the problems you might encounter and how to get around them. I'm going to be using the 2 glazing mediums by Golden Paintworks, Glazing Medium and Sheer Glazing Medium. The main one I work with is this one, but sometimes I like to add a little bit of Sheer Glazing Medium into it when I need a little extra working time, like on a large wall or on a ceiling. So we'll get to it. Okay, so here I'm going to be doing a ragging technique. This is a finish that is defined by the tool that you use. In this case, I'm going to be using some bed sheet material. You want to be careful that you don't, say, start off with a t-shirt and then switch to a sweatshirt and then switch to linen material, because you're going to get completely different looks. So make sure you have enough of this material to complete the entire wall surface before you switch. I'm using 1 cup of glaze, and I added 1/4 cup of paint into it. That's a 4-to-1 ratio. The roller nice and primed. Okay. I'm going to be working in irregular patches. You want to get rid of these lines, these roller lines, as much as you can. Okay, now I'm going to take my rag here and I'm going to start pouncing. And I can actually do a bit of a roll also. I'm going to go right to the edge here. Okay, I'm going to leave that wet edge right there because that's what I'm going to. That's how I'm going to blend in the next patch. Okay, then roll on the next patch. And I'm just going to roll up into my previous patch, just to the wet edge, like that. Okay, this time I can just pounce. You want to make sure you rotate your wrist so you don't create any kind of a pattern that you can recognize. Okay, then the next patch. Okay, see, now you want to blend these 2 patches together, okay, so it looks seamless. Okay, then finish it off. Right off the surface. There you go. That's pretty much what you're looking for. You're trying to achieve a consistent inconsistency. Now I have a nice ragged finish here, and I'm going to overlay this with some 4-inch wide stripes. Now when you start laying out the stripes, you want to have a yardstick and a bubble level or a plumb level or even a plumb bob. I'm going to measure out here 4 inches. I'm going to make my mark right on the tape. Now from that mark, I'm going to use my bubble level here, and I'm going to make one absolutely straight line. Okay. I'm going to drop down about 2 feet and make a mark right here on the wall, come up a couple feet, make another mark like that, and take it, then keep it nice and level. All the way down to the tape at the base. Okay? So I'm only going to have two marks on the actual wall here. One about 2 feet down, one about 2 feet up. I'm using just a pencil. If you could find some chalk or they call it like a white charcoal pencil, that even work better, because you want to be able to erase this afterwards, or at least make such a light mark that you won't see it through the glaze. Now from there I'm going to start at 4 inches. I'm going to mark the actual tape at every 4 inches. 4, 8, 12, 16, etc. And start on the wall here from your mark. Again, just a very light mark every 4 inches. 4, 8, 12, etc. Now I'm going to start taping off the wall. Now, I generally like to work with 6 rolls of tape at a time. What that does is it minimizes the time you have to go up and down the ladder. An average size room, say 12 by 14 room, 8 foot high, is going to take 15, 16 rolls of tape. So you want to have that before you start. So working with 6 rolls is really no problem. So I'm going to okay, and then just continue across the room. I'm going to start overlaying these stripes now with the glaze. You want to use a rag of the same material that I did for the first original ragging, at about 1/3 to 1/2 the size of the original rag. I'm going to be using the same glaze that I used originally on the ragging technique, but now I'm going to switch down to a 4-inch wide roller, which will fit perfectly inside of the stripes. Make sure you cover every bit of the stripe with some glaze. Be careful to fill it all in, the edges and whatnot. I'm going to go about halfway down the wall with the glaze. Okay, it's all covered. Then start taking the rag, push it up, bring it down. And you can take off the tape as soon as you're finished. I'm going to be rendering a parchment finish next. That's just one name for a classic finish that renders a very light shadowing and shading on any wall surface that gives a visual texture and gives a wall some presence. I did a sample board here already just to make sure my color is going to work. My wall surface here is already painted in a white eggshell sheen paint. What I did is I took a small amount of that paint and I darkened it up using some raw Umber slow dry fluid acrylic and made this color right here. The color is very similar to a Benjamin Moore color called Barren Plain 2111-60. The trick about doing a parchment finish is to keep the contrast low. So if my base color is white, I want to just skip one on the deck here and pick this light warm gray color. This is true if my base color was Barren Plain, I want to skip one and this would be my glaze color. This also works, instead of neutrals, this also works for real color. If this was my base color, I would just skip one and that would be my glaze color. This works both ways. If this was my paint color, I skip one, this would be my glaze color. Keep your finish nice, soft, and subtle, and you'll be successful in rendering it. I'm about ready to go. Now, the tool that I'm going to use to manipulate the glaze is about 2 square yards of some low-grade cotton cheesecloth. These usually come in packages of about 4 to 5 square yards. Just take it out, cut it in half, shake off the loose threads, hold it loosely in your hands, and you're ready to go. I'm going to apply the glaze with a 1/2 inch nap. This is a 6-inch roller. You can use a 7 or 9 inch. It doesn't really matter. But this will put on just about the right amount of glaze. I'm going to use a smaller brush here to go ahead and cut in the glaze up in areas where I can't quite reach with the roller. Come out about 4 or 5 feet. Now I'm going to apply this glaze in an irregular shape patch. Then get rid of the lines. Now, holding this loosely in your hands, you want to avoid this wet edge along here. Okay, leave about 3 inches that you don't touch, and start removing some of the glaze softly. I'm going over probably about 80% of the patch, just removing patches of the glaze, creating kind of a shadow effect. This is reminiscent of a light coming through the leaves of a tree and leaving a mottled shading on the surface. Okay? So I didn't touch this area right along here. Now I want to add on the next patch. I'll go down low for this one. Well, then put on the next patch, again in an irregular shape. You want to apply the glaze in these irregular shapes like this, just in case the glaze starts to dry on you a little bit too quickly. If these lines do become apparent, at least it's going to look organic on the wall and look natural, rather than if you were to work in squares. So I'll blend these two together. See, the motion is kind of a hit, drag, hit, drag, hit, drag. I'm not just patting the wall, I'm actually dragging it a little bit also. Now I'll go ahead and finish this over to the wall. Okay, now I'm going to finish coming around the corner. You want to make the finish look seamless. The glaze has a tendency to want to gather in the corner like this, so let me show you how we'll fix that. First we'll apply it in here, We'll go about halfway down, come out a bit. Okay, I'm going to make sure that I have glaze on both sides here so I can carry the finish right around the corner. Really push it in. Now the glaze is still going to want to gather rather heavily in the corner here. So what you want to do is use a 4-inch chip brush like this, or any kind of a flat china bristle brush, and walk that glaze out of the corner. All it takes is a couple of jabs. It just takes the heaviness out. There, now the glaze goes around the corner. That's a good idea to maybe go along the crown also. Clean up any heavy spots in the base. Okay, there and finished. Now it took me about 10 minutes to do. This is 78 square feet here. So after about 100 square feet, you may want to change out your cheesecloth for your other piece. What you can do is you can dip this in water, rinse it out, hang it up to dry on your ladder. Then by the time you're finished using the other piece, this will be dry enough to use again. So one package of cheesecloth should do an entire average sized room. It's been a couple hours now and the glaze is mostly dried. I've removed the masking tape and I've lowered the illumination in the room a little bit so you can better see the results of our finish. You can see we have quite a beautiful parchment glaze. Now I'd like to encourage you to try some other color combinations, such as a metallic gold with a burnt umber glaze on top of it, or even a aqua or denim blue with a whitish glaze on top of it. It can be very cloud-like and quite beautiful itself. I hope you've enjoyed our series of videos on glazing techniques for architecture and furniture, and I'd like to encourage you to look at our goldenpaintworks.com site for other videos on product application and other techniques. So I hope to see you again real soon.